Ce soir, une histoire d'amour, une chaise et une table. Quel finish avez-vous? Poli? Varnish?
Je suis shellac. Et vous? Crispy ou zigzag?
Hi, I'm Joe L'Erario. Welcome to Furniture to Go.
And I'm Ed Feldman, and this is the French show too, or Le Programme des Français du.
Now, we are going to lacquer our tabletop, or clear coat it, if you want to use shop lingo. Remember,
Lingo is French.
Lingo is French,
Yeah.
I know. Remember, last time we stripped and we sanded and we stained and then we filled using a paste filler. Remember, the look has to be as smooth as glass, and the only way you get that is by applying a top coat after a top coat after a top coat to a filled surface like this.
And with the chair, the legs are all taken care of. How'd my brother-in-law do it? And we padded the seat in the back, and now it's time for Le Fabrique Actuelle.
So why don't you go over there? Oh, this is the muslin.
Yes, we
This is the Pollock fabric.
sent it out to
Jackson Pollock fabric.
Okay, get out of here.
Oh,
I'm leaving.
Get away. Get away.
I don't want to be there anymore.
Go ahead, go up. All right, go ahead.
I'll put the back down here, and we've cut out the patterns for the back and the seat. Now, this is mohair. How did we cut out the patterns? We took off the old fabric, which is now in a horrible pile over there, and we just traced around it, except for the seat, because if you'll remember, and gosh knows who does not remember the last time you watched this travesty, there was no seat. So we just cut a very generous amount of fabric, and this is mohair. Why? I don't want to work in mohair. The guy who has it needs to get this chair back is going to get mohair. So we went to the Three Stooges drain, and all mohair and velour and everything has a nap. We have the nap running back to front. So when you sit on it, it will make your kundalini stand on end. So then we let everything drape down. It's a very thick fabric, and we're going to have to work carefully so as not to get a whole lot of pleats. We put a staple in the front, right in the middle. We pull the back nice and tight, yank it underneath, make sure it's not cracking the frame apart, which is always an option. And put a tack in there. Now we're going to have to go out to the side. And here's where we have to get ethereal with the fabric. We have to see where the fabric breaks. Of course, it's going to break at the corners, just like that. We don't want to mess with the breaks. We want to put staples in between these sort of prows and then pull tightly. But first, we put one right under here. And now I work in between the staple I have here and the staple I have here. First, right in the middle, yanking like a son of a gun, let me tell you. Splitting the difference in between the two staples so as to get as much pleating out of it as possible. Now, if you're going to get a pleat, you want it in the back, in the corner where, and I'm going to pull the back into this, you want the pleat hidden by this rail. If you're going to get a pleat anywhere, you want it hidden by the rail. All right, the home stretch of the chair seat, we've made two interior folds and folded them over on the back. We need to take up a lot of slack because of the curve here. And as you can see, this is a thick fabric. So even though you're going to make your folds real tight, you're going to have some visible thickness here. So I've trimmed all this side up so I can tack that in like so. And I've made a nice generous inside cut here so as to not get a lot of bunching up underneath here when I make this one fold. So I'm going to bring this around first underneath to anchor it. I'm going to shoot in there. Oh, I love the pneumatic. You know, Norm has 9 of them. Well, he's got electric pants. You know, he's got everything. And then I just make this one fold, a nice crisp pleat right there. And then I've got to go down on this, underneath there. Pull that tight as you can. Put one there. Put one next to it. We can trim up this later. And now I'm just going to continue underneath here, making it nice and tight. Now we're doing the inside back. I've just put a staple in the top. You always anchor the top and the bottom first. And then we turn it over. And oh, look at all the pleats. Oh, are they going to come out? You bet. As soon as we pull this tight at both sides, and that's what we do next. We pull this side tight, check it, and then pull the other side tight. Oh, as tight as you can. We'll trim off all this excess later. The good thing about this fabric is it is quite sturdy. And then we'll pull the top, and then we'll start stapling down the sides, just like this. All right, I've stapled across the top, down the sides, across the bottom. I'll trim this off later. You don't want to watch that. You have lives. I know it. And I've trimmed up here, so when I make this fold here, you won't get a lot of bagging, and the back won't punch out like some of us do. So I'll continue across the top and stopping just a few inches from the edge, and then one up here, and make the lovely, not very intricate fold just like that. Isn't that fabulous? Aren't you glad you watched this? Don't you wish everybody did? And now I'll trim all this up. Back looks darn nice. I've made the cuts in the bottom, so they will be hidden and you won't see any fabric. Oh, let's see what Joe is doing.
Hi, the tabletop is ready to go, and the filler's dried, and now we can apply the sealer, which is basically going to be a first coat of lacquer. But first I want to just wipe the top with a little bit of naphtha on a paper towel, just to get off any kind of residue. And the table's nice and smooth too. And now we'll plug in the gun with the hose, and we're ready to go on that. We got the lacquer in there straight from the can. I'm going to put on my mask.
Ready to go? I'm going to do the edge first.
And now I'm doing the inside arm, which is a lot like the inside back. So I've done all the staples up. And remember, when you're doing the staples on an inside piece, do them far away from the edge, because when we do the outside arms or backs, the staples are going to be closer to the edge. It'll all come together later. You got to be at one with this piece. I am mohair, I am Krishna, you know. So then we make this one fold here, and we pull it down, and we anchor it there, and then I'll drop this down and pull that there. Now I'll turn this around and I'll make the fold on the top. I've trimmed off here so it won't bunch up. I'll drop it down one more time, put one staple there, and then I'll fold this over. I'll crimp it in so only this much will be seen by your party guests.
I am wet sanding now. I'm using a 400 wet and dry paper, and I've just about finished up doing that. Why am I doing a wet sanding? Because when you wet sand, it cuts a little better. That means the paper cuts into the finish and levels the surface a little better than with the dry paper. So once you finish, you're going to apply the stand, the roll of burlap. So we try and fit upholstery in anywhere we can in this show. In this case, the stand for the table. Now you wipe it clean and dry, and you're ready to spray. I'm going to become Diver Dan again. And remember, this is a lacquer, and it's the same as the first coat. I'm putting it on in order to build up the surface.
Now we're ready to do the outside arms and then the outside back. The original outside arm and back panel was one piece because they could staple that in and cover it with the decorative tacks. But the client doesn't want that, so we're going to have to do it my way, the modern way, with the cardboard tack strip up here and the metal tack strips down the side. You've seen me do this before. Oh, my fans always ask me never to do it again. So I've stapled in the cardboard tack strip over the top, and now I drop it down. I've got the edge I like. I'm pulling the center and just putting one anchor staple underneath. Now I have about an inch or so of excess here, and I take the metal tack strip and I line it up on the bias, because that's the way this arm is, and I start to spike it through, pulling gently yet firmly, inwardly, downwardly, pulsating, striving, ending and unending. Oh boy, I should write romance novels. And now we turn it around, we tuck this part underneath, get a little angle deal there going, and now we get our mallet. You can use a rubber. I got my hickory today, and we start to bang in. Bang in gently at first, and then a big son of a gun. And now everybody's favorite penultimate fabric panel, the outside back. We've put the cardboard tack strip along the top, and we're defining our edge. Like, define your edge, man. Remember, the staples as close to the top of the tack strip as you can get, and now we get the metal tack strip. We drop this down first, and it's going to bunch up first, but you got to yank it and you got to show it who's boss. I said, I'm boss. Okay. And I'll put one right in the middle there. The curved end of the tack strip up at the top, because you don't want it to spike or rub through fabric. Of course, here again, this mohair, this thing could be made out of 20 grit sandpaper. It wouldn't go through. And I'm spiking through. Now up at the top, I might have to put a blind stitch there later, but no matter. That's why I taught you blind stitching years ago. And you were here for that, weren't you? Weren't you? I can't hear you! All right, now we wind this. We tuck that down. We pull it tight. We get Mr. Big Guy. And we start to bang. And we bang. And we bang. Now all that's left is to put the cambric back on. The dust cover, as some people call it. Why? I don't know. Do you really care if there's dust up inside the chair? I do not. Oh my goodness. You can have fun with that part, because absolutely nobody's going to see your work. And now we flip the darn thing over. And there you have it. The lovely, small and white, clean and bright, just like Edelweiss.
About 4 or 5 coats on here, and it's got a nice, brilliant shine, almost like a mirror. And what I want to do is now I want to polish it lightly. I don't want to go into any heavy polish. I want to get a nice satin luster to it. I'm going to use a little bit of lemon oil, and all we do is sprinkle some lemon oil on here. This is good because you get to get your hand all in it. Oh. This is kind of like the lubrication. It's like doing the rub down. But your back feels tense. I will take a little bit of 4-0 steel wool, and I'm going to go with the grain all the way around, not the perimeter now, the circumference. Usually with a square surface, I always say do the perimeter first, and then fill in. Oh, I am just finishing polishing with just a light polish with a rag. And I'll get rid of the rag, and I want to tell you that project is finished, and now I want to introduce you to a man who does French polishing. He's a good friend of mine, so I'm going to go over this way, and you follow me. Hey, Rowan, how you doing?
Hey, John, how's it going?
This is our special guest, Rowan Hunt, and he does French polishing, which there's not a lot of people that do that anymore.
Indeed, it's true.
It takes a long time to learn. How long have you been doing French polishing?
Well, it all began by accident. I spilled cognac on a good friend's dining room table back in New Zealand some years ago, and I had to learn fast.
Well, it's an amazing process whereby through rubbing you're filling the pores, and we're going to show you quickly as we can. So
Okay, let's hit it anyway.
you've got a filler here.
Yeah.
That's made of a water-based putty, and it's got some dry pigments in it. And the dry pigments are, of course, and the putty are wet by water, and he's rubbing in circles, and what this is doing, he's pushing it into the pores of the mahogany.
You can use pretty much any color you want. You could even do a specialty fill with, you could use green or ultramarine blue. You could use red. If you wanted to do something jazzy with oak, you could use pretty much whatever color fill you wanted.
Now, once we get this finished, you come up, and it looks like this, correct? Let me put this down there.
Yeah, you have to sand all this off pretty much as soon as it's dry,
Okay.
which can take a good hour and a half.
But it comes out looking like this.
It does. The grain is pretty much physically
It's
filled.
nice and smooth already.
Yeah.
Now, the next thing we want to do is you would put a wash coat of shellac over
That's
that,
right.
correct?
We'd put a wash coat of shellac. I've got shellac cut about 1 to 3 with pure denatured alcohol here.
The spit coat he's got. And
Absolutely.
You wash coat it, and then
Wash coat.
he sanded it here.
Yep.
With 400?
I've wet sanded it with 400 wet and dry paper. If you look in here, you can see I've got a piece cut in there. I
Right.
don't like to spray the workpiece with the thinner, but I keep the paper in the thinner there. It washes any grit off that might scratch the piece.
Okay.
Okay, so let me quickly show you the basis of filling with shellac
Okay.
versus filling with a dry filler. Okay, see what's happening here?
So you got the dust here from the wet sand.
Yeah, I'm redissolving it.
There. He's redissolving it, and again, pushing that into the pores.
This is kind of taxing.
Pushing it, lots of grinding. So if you've got a lot of anger and frustration, you can take it all out on this real good.
It's extremely therapeutic. Yes, it is.
It's beautiful, and it's smooth already. And you say this is how far gone? I mean, how far into it?
It's early days yet. I want to show you how you charge the pad. Now, we're going to skim through this so fast it's going to make everyone's head spin when they see the results we get. But it's important to try and charge the center of the pad like this.
Charge it. You want to charge it up. That means he's putting more shellac in there, and he's making it wet.
Yeah,
And then
but
as you squeeze,
you want to watch it. You see this? I'll show you, Joe. Look, you don't want to see
Okay.
anything dripping out
Okay.
when you squeeze real hard. If you can see liquid coming out, just walk away and leave it. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you'll ruin the job. Okay, it feels a bit like a dog's nose.
dog's nose.
Not
It's
quite
wet as
that
a
wet.
dog's nose. Wet as a dog's nose.
Yeah.
That's important.
We need oil to help the even the initial stages here, but not too much. This is just ordinary, like mineral paraffin oil, mineral oil.
Just a little drop of that.
Yeah, you can get it from CVS. I think it helps you.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So
You got a rash.
let's begin.
Okay.
Get
Now,
the-
what are the movements with the polishing?
Well, really, there's a lot of jazz about figures of 8 and lazy 8s and so forth, but when you're beginning to apply the shellac, you basically got to keep that pad moving. If you stall it like this,
Yeah.
the alcohol will immediately
Will
leak
eat
out.
into it, sure.
It'll eat it up in a flash, and you'll have to work on it. And the other thing that you're going to do wrong, and I promise you'll do it, you can't help it, is when you make that big curve, you're gonna squeeze shellac out of the side of the pad.
Sure. So you got to pretty much be steady on the
Yeah.
whole. It takes a lot of concentration and balance, too.
Well, actually, yeah, you make a pretty light pass with it like this. Got to keep it moving. We're working completely at random
Yeah.
at first because we just want to build up some shellac on there. You've got to watch that you don't stall the pad.
Right.
Your
You gotta
entries have
pull
got to
it
be
off.
smooth.
It's like an airplane,
Just
taking
like-
off and
yeah,
landing.
Perfect.
After how many coats, I don't know, but you get something that looks unbelievably like glass. And this, how long did you work on this, Rowan?
Well, really,
I mean,
let me
this is
put this in
absolutely
perspective.
smooth.
Let's put it in perspective. Think about a grand piano, 200
Yeah.
hours minimum. Okay? Well, what I'm about to do here is a paraphrased version of what's called spiriting off in old tech
So
terminology.
you have how many coats on here, would you say?
Let me quickly clarify, it's not actually a series of coats because there's chemically only one coat of shellac on here.
Okay.
But as you move across there with your charged pad, the oil lubricates the pad so that it doesn't scratch the surface of what you've already laid down. The alcohol slightly redissolves and amalgamates the new finish with what's already there from your previous passes. And what I'm doing here, I'm really whirling through this because I don't want to leave the pad in one place since I've only got pure alcohol in there. What I'm doing is...
So it still looks beautiful. Let me
Look
see.
at it, here I
I just
come.
want to hold it up.
Okay.
Rowan, that's unbelievable. Really. I mean, I would like to study with this man and learn this because I never had a chance to learn it. And I thank you for being here, and I hope you can come back again.
Thank you.
Shake my hand.
Great
Even with shellac on. No, it doesn't come off. It's stuck with shellac. Wait. Oh, we'll have to go home together. C'est magnifique.
C'est merveilleuse. The mohair chair.
And the beautifully polished table with lacquer.
So until next time,
It is time to va.
bonsoir.
Formidable. Vous êtes merveilleuse. Je suis transporté.
Je t'adore, tout costard.
La